Welcome back, guys. Today we are going to be doing the ranking of every coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. I recently went a couple weeks ago. I've yet to post the video, but here we go. So, in last place, we have Little Devil Coaster. I did not get the chance to ride this because I was too tall, and even my little sister was too tall, so I couldn't ride it. Naturally, this is going to be in last place because it's the smallest coaster there. Um, there's really nothing else to say about it. It's a kiddie coaster. Next up, we have Harley Quinn Crazy Train. This is a Zier Family Kitty hybrid. I don't know, it's kind of boring. I rode it with my sister. She loved it. Of course, I did not. It's just a little family coaster, and it's unique because it has those super long trains for some reason, and it takes 2 laps, so kind of interesting, but it's just not good. So next up we have Gotham City Gauntlet, the park's Wild Mouse. It's indoors and it's themed to the Dark Knight movie. I think it's just kind of a janky mouse. I have never been on a mouse before. My home park, Cedar Point, that's the only other park I've really been to that I've actually rode stuff. And I have not had the chance to ride their Wild Mouse there because it has so many technical issues. But the Wild Mouse at Great Adventure, it's just, it just feels janky. The turns just don't do it for me. Little drops are just annoying. Now next up we have Runaway Mine Train. This is a classic mine train. Again, the only other one I've been on is Mine Ride at Cedar Point. It is better than that, but it's still just a little aero mine train. I like how it goes into the woods, and that final turn over the water is pretty cool. There's really nothing else to say. I mean, it only has one lift, which is strange for a aero mine train. You don't see that very often. Most of the time they have at least 2. So, yeah, it's just a cool little ride, bringing kids on. Next up, we have Skull Mountain. So this is a cool indoor ride. The first drop in the back gives a little kick, but I didn't get to ride it anywhere else. It just kind of winds around in the dark after the first drop, so it's pretty boring, but that first drop gives it the edge over the coasters before on this list because it's just a decent pop of airtime on what would be a normal just kids coaster or family coaster, whatever you want to call it. But the rock art on the outside is pretty cool, so it's just a meh ride. Next up is Green Lantern, the park's stand-up coaster. I this is my first stand-up coaster that I ever had ridden. It was okay, but it doesn't stack up to the rest of the coasters. Um, it just hurt my legs. Rode it very, very early in the day when the park had just opened because nothing else was open at the time. So, I mean, not a good choice. I don't want my legs to hurt all day. It's very, very intense though, which is why your legs get a beating. So, that is good and bad. And yeah, it's stand up. Next up, we have the park's B&M Inver, Batman the Ride. It's like every Batman the Ride, well, of course, because it's cloned at like every Six Flags park except for like two or three of them. So it's very intense and whippy, but it's just really, really short. It kind of leaves you wanting more. Like Raptor is a bit longer, and I feel like it's the superior Inver because uh, it's also super intense and whippy. And when you get the mid course off on Raptor, it's just phenomenal, and it's on a different level than Batman the Ride, even though they were like the first couple inverts. So Batman the Ride just delivered a lot for its size. Next up is the park's flying coasters, Superman Ultimate Flight. It's my first flying, did I say floorless flying coaster? It's my first flying coaster. It's it's good. I mean, it's more of a gimmick than anything. That pretzel loop just is insanely intense. I love it. My dad hated it, but I loved it. Um, so it just simulates flying. It's kind of cool. The station's real fun because you got people screaming when it tilts. So it's just a cool ride that has a cool gimmick. Next up is Medusa, the park's floorless coaster. This is far superior to Rougarou, which is the only other floorless I've ridden. I've heard that Medusa is one of the best ones, so that's good. So it's just really fun. I mean, it's intense too, but it's just a fun ride with all the props and stuff that you like corkscrew over. It's really cool. I don't know, I sound like a GP right now, but that zero G roll is better than people have made it up to be because Rougarou doesn't, and so it's just phenomenal just flying up there because the only coaster with a zero G rule that I've ridden is Valravn, and that's more of a slow moving kind of graceful one. So Medusa is a really good coaster, and I would ride it a lot if I could, but we didn't have a lot of time because it rained later in the day. Okay, next up is King Dakar. King Dakar is what you'd think it would be. It's kind of a one-trick pony. It that launch is amazing. I got to ride it in the front row, so the wind just blasted me. And then you get some meh airtime on the top hat. It's not the best with the restraints too. I feel like Dragsters would be better in its last state when it was open. I never got to ride it, but I'm looking forward to Dragster reopening. Um, and King Ka, it's kind of shaky, like the launch track. I don't know. It bangs your neck around on those dreaded restraints. Uh, it's still cool though. With the extra airtime hill, that doesn't really do anything besides a little bit of floater, but it's there to be different from Dragster, so I guess that's what it does. Okay, next up is Jersey Devil Coaster. Despite all of the bad reviews about it and people saying it's far inferior to the other Raptors, I thought it was a really fast paced and good ride because I've never ridden the other Raptors, and it was just rapid fire airtime. Hey, the zero G stall was amazing, like every RMC's. Um, so it was just a really cool ride for, I don't know, just it was a cool gimmick. The single rail, uh, my dad hated it because it kept on moving, and I got the back 3 times, so that was nice. Nothing really had a line because of the threat of rain, so it was a good ride. One of the better ones that I've ever ridden. I'd say if it were at Cedar Point, it would rank fourth or fifth, depending on the day. So it's fun and intense. So next ride is Nitro. Nitro is really it's my first B&M Hyper. There's a lot of firsts at that park. I don't know why, but I I've only been to like 4 parks, and I went to the Universals when I was young, and then I went to Disney, and then I rode like Expedition Everest, and that was it. The 2 Orlando ones. So it was Nitro was everything a B&M Hyper was brought up to be. I loved the first drop with that clamshell. Um, rode in the back 2 times, rode in like the middle once because my mom didn't want to ride in the front or back. Uh, my dad had grayed out on the Helix, which was really intense. I wasn't expecting it, and the floater airtime was just everything everyone has ever said about it. It was perfect. Perfect. It was just a different experience than from anything I had ever ridden. So it was really good. Second in the park. And then, of course, everyone knows number one, that is going to be El Toro, which is my second favorite coaster of all time. Steel Vengeance edges it out by a little bit, but I mean, El Toro is just phenomenal by Intamin. It's just wrecked. The airtime is so strong, I feel like the restraint's gonna break. I know that's probably not great because of the accidents it's had lately, but it's just really, really intense, and it's rough in some spots, but they retracted a bit this season, so it was still good. But that first drop was amazing, like everyone had said it was going to be. And it's just phenomenal. Those two first airtime hills, those deliver some of the best airtime I've ever had. Uh, just pure ejector. It just powers you through. And then that Rolling Thunder hill is perfection. I mean, it's just boom. You're flying out of your seat like a rocket. So yeah, and that's gonna end it here. That was all the rides at Six Flags Great Adventure. Hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like, maybe consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.